The Vietnam War fascinates me as both a history buff and a gamer, and I can't get enough of video games set during this conflict. The older systems had quite a few games that I covered previously on the channel, but in today's episode, I'm going to talk about some games you can play on modern systems, specifically the PS5, Xbox Series X and S, the Nintendo Switch, and the PC, which is the king when it comes to Vietnam War games. There's a mixed bag of games here for you to enjoy, so make sure to like this video and let's go! Let's kick things off with Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. Ever since they put out Black Ops, they have been flirting with a Vietnam-era solo-player campaign, but never really committed to it. In fact, Sledgehammer was going to develop a full-blown Vietnam COD set in the 1960s and 1970 Cambodia, Vietnam, and Laos. But the games were put on hold in 2011 as Sledgehammer Games began working on the other Call of Duty games. When it comes to Vietnam, Black Ops Cold War is the latest game in the Call of Duty franchise in which you played during the Vietnam War, albeit in only 2 of the game's missions. With only 2 of the game's 9 missions, there's not a whole lot dedicated to the Vietnam War, but what is here is mighty. In Cold War, you play as a soldier named Bell, who teams up with Black Ops heroes Alex Mason, Frank Woods, Russell Adler, and Jason Hudson. Their team is on a hunt for a Russian spy named Perseus, who's out to destroy much of Europe with his nukes. But to get a sense of Perseus' real identity, and perhaps more importantly where he is, you must flash back to Bell's time in Vietnam. The second mission of the game, Fracture Jaw, is set in 1968 during the Vietnam War. You are awakened from your bunk by Adler, who tells you it's time to go on a mission to clear out an enemy town and look for intel that can help you turn the tide. This portion of the game always impressed me. Just walking around through the camp and seeing life as it may have been in country tells me that they put a lot of thought into making this game real. This gets a whole lot better when you board a Huey and make your way out as part of the air cavalry to the hills of Vietnam where the village awaits. You are treated to some gorgeous views of Vietnam before quickly switching to the gunner seat to take out as many Viet Cong as you can before landing your birds. This part of the game never gets old. I love seeing things blow up from afar as a machine gun belches out bullets. Once you land, it's on and you engage in a firefight with the VC, making your way through the village and taking cover where you can. This game's difficulty is up there because your enemies are no slouches. Once finding the intel you were looking for, which essentially points to Perseus being involved in the war somehow, you then board your chopper once again, but this time you get to pilot it while unleashing its weapons on enemies. Flying the Huey through canyons of Vietnam is an experience every gamer should experience once in their gaming career. Your rockets and chain gun make quick work of any enemy who dares to shoot at you, and it's so much fun blowing things up. You finally make your way to the end of the canyon where you must provide air support to the forward operating base that's under attack by the VC. Dang, if only I could play some Vietnam tunes during this portion of the video, that would be epic. After you land and pick up a mini nuke, basically one of the nukes that the terrorists want to use to destroy Europe, you're shot down and a vicious firefight ensues that ends with some good old napalm. What a way to end it. The second mission that deals with the Vietnam War is Break On Through, no doubt named after the Doors hit, which was a hit in the Vietnam era. In this mission, you are being interrogated and forced to relive a mission over and over again. You are being manipulated into recalling memories of Vietnam that really didn't happen, and it's creepy as all. Without giving you any spoilers, this level has many trippy things going on with it, and it speaks to the great lengths that the government will go to get what they want out of you. You can try to fight it during the portion of the game, but eventually you will be forced to do what they want you to do. I, for one, didn't conform, and I was awarded with an achievement, which I thought was pretty cool. Black Ops Cold War isn't the Vietnam War game we were hoping for, but it's the one we got. Well, at least 2 levels of it. But it's a game that does a great job of drawing the beauty of the land, along with the hell that you're going to experience, even if it's not fully dedicated to Vietnam. Pick this game up for the PS5, Xbox Series X and S, the PS4, or the Xbox One. Far Cry Hour of Darkness is a standalone DLC expansion for Far Cry 5, and man oh man, this is one of the best modern Vietnam War games you can play. The developers did a good job of transforming the colors and landscapes of Far Cry 5 to those you would find in the war. In Hour of Darkness, you play as Wendell Red Redler, who is riding in a helicopter with your fellow squad mates when you are shot down and taken prisoner, thus starting your adventure. At its core, Hour of Darkness is an open-world, first-person shooter in which you must escape your captors, find and rescue your fellow downed soldiers, and make your way to the final extraction point. The game is roughly 1/3 the size of the map in the base game of Far Cry 5, and there's plenty to do. Your fellow soldiers are being held prisoner in various camps throughout the map, and you must free them. Once you do, they fight alongside you, and you can issue commands to them to attack different targets or to close ranks around you. Your NPC squad mates are really accurate shooters and more than pull their weight during the game, even reviving you when you have been blasted, which happened to me quite a bit. At the same time, they can be stupid, like when they don't board the jeep you are trying to get them to board so you can leave and go to the next directive. Each of them have their specialties, including marksmanship and being a more defensive type of player. It behooves you to take care of them because once they die, and it makes you feel like you let them down. I lost one of my squad mates when I ran my jeep into a river and a crocodile attacked us. My dude didn't make it and I was sad about it. Anyhow, right off the bat you will notice that this game is beautiful. It does an awesome job of rendering the jungles and landscapes that makes up a small portion of Vietnam. Aside from rescuing your squad mates, you can also do big missions such as assassinating BC commanders, destroying air artillery, and rescuing South Vietnamese soldiers who provide locations of the other POW camps and targets to take out. Then there's smaller challenges that are fun to complete, such as destroying all of these radios that belt out propaganda meant to demoralize you. Have a listen.
We know you can hear us. You are Python 25, AirCap. We shut you down. Why are you running? There's nowhere for you to go. We will catch you. Give up now.
Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Shut the hell up. You also get to take home the lighters of several downed pilots as sort of a way to confirm that they are deceased. The combat in this game is quite satisfying and has all the makings of a great first-person shooter, much like Far Cry 5 is. But in Hour of Darkness, it's a lot more advantageous to utilize stealth to attack your enemies, instead of going at them head-on, although I did plenty of the latter. Each stealth kill gives you a perk, and there are 4 in all that let you move silently, auto-tag nearby enemies, and chain your takedowns to take out 2 enemies at once. It's great fun, but if you break stealth by being seen or shooting your gun at someone and they hear you, you lose your perks and must do stealth kills again to gain them back. Running or driving around on this map is a joy. You will be fighting in VC villages, POW camps, stream beds, jungles, caves, bunkers, and other locales that really make you feel like you are at war in a foreign country. The game is relatively short. It took me about 5 hours to get through it, and it left me wanting more. Hour of Darkness has some co-op gameplay, and maybe that's what I'll do next. Take on the enemies with a pal. Now, if I could only find a pal that likes the Vietnam War games as much as I do, that would be awesome. You can also grab this one for the PlayStation and Xbox systems. I was not expecting to play this type of game when doing research for this episode, but I'm glad I did. Sort of. With a name like When I Was Young, you wouldn't expect it to have too much to do with the Vietnam War, but it takes the war fully into account, weaving a game that is just as much story and dialogue as it is gunplay. When I Was Young is a slow-paced sort of game that harkens back to the golden days of the LucasArts games like Maniac Mansion and the Indiana Jones games. While not being a point-and-click adventure on the PC, this game uses the same type of graphics and humor to keep you interested in it as you play through the game's 9 missions. In When I Was Young, you play as a Marine private named Russell, who volunteers to go to Nam, partly to serve your country and partly to find your brother who went missing while serving. Your journey starts in your home and takes you through boot camp. It starts out really slow, but this game is where you get to meet the men of your company that you will be serving with over in Nam. For the most part, this sequence of the game is a lot like a tutorial, teaching you the basic fundamentals of the game. This being a PC game, I was wondering if it had controller support, and I'm glad it did. Most of the PC games I'm going to review don't, so I was happy about that. Anyhow, in boot camp you'll learn how to melee attack with a machete, how to shoot, and you must complete the obstacle course in the required time to make it through. After you finish boot camp, you are sent to Vietnam, and that's where the game really starts to open up. The game's simple controls are easy to learn, but could use some polish. The aiming, for example, is imprecise. As you can see, this game is a 2D side-scroller, and in those games, it's critical to be able to aim well to get the upper hand. but using the controller is a bit cumbersome, although I admit that using the mouse to aim is probably what the developers wanted each gamer to do. In Vietnam, you go on patrol missions, sometimes entering into villages and warning locals that it's not safe for them, and sometimes clearing out entire VC-controlled villages. The gun battles in this game are difficult, partly due to the lack of a cover system, but hey, this is a side-scroller. There's a lot of trial and error in this game and you will be dying a lot. In some places, you won't really know what to do and just try different things over and over again to try and make it past the level. Then there are the bugs that don't help out much. For example, when you reach the end of the stage, the screen is supposed to switch to the next screen of the action, but in some cases, the game gives you a game over screen. What the hell? I reported this bug to the developers and hopefully they will fix it. There are other smaller bugs in the game such as running into invisible walls, and there are also a bevy of grammar mistakes, misspellings, and let's just say colorful language. The dialogue in this game for the most part does a great job of telling the story and conveying mission priorities, and you will get to learn a lot about the lives of your fellow Marines and hopefully uncover the fate of your brother who's MIA. The game does have some tedious parts such as building up defenses for this game. But hey, not all of being in war can be just about battles. Sometimes you need to cut loose, go to a bar, and get into a drunken brawl. Can't say I've ever done that in a Vietnam War game. When I Was Young is a charming game that has some bugs that may just infuriate you, so know that before downloading it on Steam or whatever. But if you can get past this and somehow get the game to stop killing you simply for advancing to the next screen, then you'll have fun with it. For now, you can grab this game for rather cheap on Steam. A port was planned for the Switch, but never came out. When it comes to video games set in Vietnam, no console has done more than PC gaming has. Viet Cong 2 is a testament to that, although the game would have been a nice launch title for the Xbox 360. Of course, that didn't happen, leaving this gem of a game on the PC. As you guessed it, Viet Cong 2 is a sequel to the widely popular Viet Cong game that came out for consoles as well as PC. In Viet Cong 2, you play as a battle-scarred soldier named Daniel Boone, named after the true-to-life mission conducted by Special Forces during 1966 and 1967 that was a cross-border recon mission in Cambodia. Your adventure starts out at the start of the Tet Offensive. You are interrupted by command to attend a Tet celebration with the mayor of the city of Hue, and it's your job to babysit a reporter who just arrived and wants to document the war.
Unfortunately, flying is not one of Peter's favorite activities.
That's okay, Schultz. Come on, I'll show you to your quarters.
No sooner than you have a toast with command staff and South Vietnam bigwigs that all hell breaks loose and Northern Vietnam troops storm the shindig. The first half hour of the game sets the tone for Viet Cong 2, and I have to say that I was wholly immersed in the action on the screen and the realistic enemy AI that kept attacking. During your escape, which basically serves as a tutorial for the game, you will get to learn the basics of shooting and aiming, all done with the mouse, as well as giving your squad commands, which becomes an essential part of combat. I have to admit that playing this game without a controller was a challenge to me. I guess I'm not much of a PC gamer, but even though it took a while to learn the controls, I had a blast with it and was able to adapt rather quickly. Part of this is because of the game's satisfying gunplay. The weapons feel real in this game, from your trusty standard issue M16 to the AK-47s favored by the Viet Cong. They feel real. Another major part of why this game pulled me in was the graphics and sounds. Sure, these graphics look dated, but that didn't seem to take away from the fun factor. And after all, I grew up playing games like this, and graphics aren't the end-all be-all of gameplay. One aspect of this game that made it over from the original Viet Cong is the role your squad plays in the battle. You must rely on your medic and engineer to heal you and supply you with ammo. They don't always listen though, due mostly to them being engaged in firefights, much as they were in the original game, but I didn't seem to have an issue in getting healed, at least eventually. Your squad mates in this game are wholly effective, and I like it when they quip "Nice shot, boss," when I make a one-shot kill. Unfortunately, the VC are also highly effective in this game. Know how to use cover and can just as easily kill you with one shot. I died quite a bit, but I'm just going to go ahead and chalk it up to me not being as proficient with a keyboard and mouse as I am with a controller. Yeah, let's go with that. The game has two campaigns. One is a US campaign which leads you through the story as Daniel Boone, the Special Forces officer, and the other is the Viet Cong campaign, in which you play as a young northern Vietnamese soldier who follows the path of the Viet Cong. I'm really glad that the game does this because I've never before played a single player campaign as a VC, and it gives a unique opportunity to learn what it's like to be the enemy. During the US campaign, you will take on a variety of missions that aim to quell the Tet Offensive. Most of the fighting you'll be doing will take place in the urban areas, such as cities, graveyards, temples, and rivers. I thought that was sort of a bummer since I like fighting in the jungle. The game reserves the jungle fighting for the Viet Cong campaign, so there's that. The one thing about the campaign is that you must beat the Citadel level of the US campaign to unlock the Viet Cong campaign. It's no big deal, but I thought it would have been better to have been able to play them from the start. Hey, at least it wasn't a DLC that they charged for. Anyhow, both campaigns have tons of missions, and side or optional missions to accomplish. From moving through the streets infested with Viet Cong, or coming to the assistance of your village that's being burned by South Vietnamese troops who have discovered your village is assisting the VC in the Viet Cong campaign. It's also realistic. The weapons you use in the game are from the period, and depending on the campaign you play, you'll be using the tools of the trade available to the side you are on at the time. One gripe that I had with this game is that you can't really utilize vehicles in the combat, but that's okay. From time to time you get to be the gunner in a jeep or a gunboat, and that seems to scratch that itch. Viet Cong 2 is one of these games that is lost in time, but really shouldn't be. I don't think you can download this game on Steam or anywhere else for that matter. But if you're good at Google, you just might be able to find it. Within seconds, really. The game didn't seem to have any issues running on my PC, although you can't really play multiplayer anymore due to the servers being shut down. I guess that's the only thing technically wrong with it. I didn't notice any bugs or anything that would spoil the gameplay, as you tend to see in PC games. I'm looking at you when I was young. If you love Vietnam War games as much as I do yourself a favor and cop this game, and play it. You won't be disappointed. Sadly, you can only play this on the PC. Up next is a game that has quite the following among the PC gaming crowd. Of course, I'm talking about the PC exclusive Rising Storm. In essence, this is a multiplayer game that lets you play with up to 64 players in one of 3 map modes across maps set in Vietnam. Seeing the screenshots and gameplay footage for this game had me pumped because, as you can see, it's downright gorgeous. But my excitement at playing it soon dissipated due to me being bad at keyboard and mouse first-person shooting. It was either that or everyone on this game uses trainers, aimbots, and other cheats that made them hit me without the slightest effort. I was dying constantly in this game, and as such, I decided to play with bots. This is actually how I learned about this game. It's tons of fun when you get to do a bit of the killing instead of being killed all the time like I was doing, but it's not entirely my fault. Okay, maybe it is since I suck at PC FPSs. One gripe that I had was the hit detection. It seems to be broken, and any but this would have been a kill shot. But nope, I get dusted by the dude and his cohorts. The other thing that really isn't a game bug but annoyed me was that the maps are horrendously large. I would run and run and run for like 10 minutes, only to reach whatever point I was taking and be shot by some camper. It was mad frustrating. But that's not necessarily the game's fault. I never liked playing on larger maps in first-person shooters because I hate the aspect of running forever just to find an enemy and to get dusted, and then having to respawn and start running all over again just to get dusted. The other gripe I had with this game is that there are just too many damn buttons to push. I know what you're going to say, you can bind the key to whatever you want, and yes, that's true, but still. This is not a game that you can run into blindly like you can in Call of Duty. The game's weapons are super realistic, which is good, but each of them have a horrible kick and aiming is rather difficult, especially for someone who is not used to playing with mouse and keyboard like me. Now, give me a console version of this game and I'd probably enjoy it better. I do love playing multiplayer from time to time, don't get me wrong, but I love single player campaigns even more, especially when it has to do with Vietnam. The lack of story really didn't pull me in as much as it should have. On the plus side, the game's graphics and sounds are really quite beautiful. The map modes resemble domination mission objectives in Call of Duty, where you are taking on different points. This game also lets you climb into vehicles, but I was so frustrated with getting owned by more experienced players that I didn't make it that far. If you are a fan of this game, coach me!
We are taking Foxtrot.
One of the great things about PC gaming is that it does the Vietnam War justice. With so many games to choose from, you are bound to play some great games. Sadly, Elite Warriors Vietnam isn't one of them. And that's too bad because I really wanted to love this game, but it has some issues. First, let's talk about the good. The game is a hybrid strategy, third-person shooter in which you take control over 4 Special Forces Marines who pull off different missions in the game. Right off the bat, you will notice this game is gorgeous. The weather effects also add to the whole feel that you are immersed into the environment. There are also missions to take on during both day and night. The developers really nailed the whole jungle aesthetic, and the sound and music make for a gripping experience in the jungle. It's just too bad it's a chokehold. The game's biggest issue is the hit detection of the enemies. That's a big deal because for a game that uses a keyboard and mouse, you can put your crosshairs on the heads of the enemies and they will survive a round to the dome. It's simply frustrating. In general, you have to empty an entire clip and sometimes 2 before the game registers a death. Yeah, it sucks. The other major aspect of this game that is a letdown is your squad mates' AI. They are critical to your mission's success because each level is comprised of mini missions and a larger one in which you must complete various objectives. If your dude gets killed in action, you are without him throughout the rest of the mission, just like in real life. But in real life though, when you tell your squad to follow you, they do it. Not so much in Elite Warriors Vietnam. There are many times that I told them to follow me and ran to the next objective, only to turn around and I'd be alone. I thought I told you to follow me. It's maddening. When they do follow you though, the action can be satisfying, especially when you're taking on a handful of VC. Speaking of the enemy, their AI is flawless. They are expert marksmen and rarely miss a shot. Just like in the real Vietnam War, they are supremely sneaky and use the foliage for cover to ambush you. Needless to say, this isn't a game where you want to run around as if you were playing Nuketown on Call of Duty. Oh no. The main playfield in each level is sprawling and there's tons of ground to cover, which you will be doing on foot and hoping and praying that your squad followed your command and you aren't left alone if you should encounter the enemy. As far as Vietnam games on the PC go, you can surely do better than Elite Warriors Vietnam, but if you are a true blue Vietnam War history buff who just has to play it and to find out on your own how bad this game is, you should grab it. It's rather cheap. In my pursuit of a video game that perfectly depicts the Vietnam War, I've come across many games. Some good, some bad, but I can't say I've ever come across a game like the DLC for Arma 3 called SOG Prairie Fire. This is a game that requires a bit of thinking, pressing buttons, and calculating your next move. It's the chess version of a Vietnam War game, and it roped me in. While you can buy a version of this game on the Xbox Series XS called Arma Reforger, I'll be talking about the PC version of Arma 3, which is the only one where you can play the SOG Prairie Fire DLC. The Xbox also allows you to play mods that allow you to play in Vietnam War scenarios. More on mods later. To start, this game is downright gorgeous. The colors, textures, sights and sounds to be experienced in this game are delightful, especially if you like Vietnam War games. You can play this game in both single player and multiplayer modes, but if you choose to do the campaign in this game, you'd better team up with others to help you, or use one of the game's many mods to lend you a hand. I used a mod that allowed me to spawn an entire squad to assist me. I sort of had to. This game can be played on both first-person and third-person viewpoints. Since I've played so many first-person shooters that have to do with Vietnam, I decided to play this in third-person. At any rate, this game goes for a more realistic experience, and so that means your enemies won't be rushing you, or will be making themselves easy to spot like in some of the games mentioned. Oh no, the enemy AI in this game is superb and quite challenging. There were many times where I'd be walking for 5 or 10 minutes and not seeing a single enemy. Then out of nowhere, a couple of shots and I was toast. The enemy AI is well hidden and shoot you with laser-like precision. That's why it's so crazy important to take this game on with a few friends or with an AI mod like I did. This being a sandbox player's dream, the game has tons of mods that you can download, all free, that do tons of different things in the game, even spawn you in different aircraft. There are also scenarios you can load and play made by players just like you. And next, let's talk about the gunplay. This game doesn't hold back in the amount of weaponry you can use to take out your enemies. Firing the weapons feels satisfyingly realistic, almost to a fault. You get the recoil as well as the idle sway of each weapon if you aren't hitting the focus button. If you are well rested, your aim will be better, especially if you crouch or if you are prone. but if you are tired, you won't be able to shoot straight. It's little things like this that set this game apart. I personally like using both the Tommy gun and the M16, but this game has so many more that it's easy to get lost in just selecting your best weapon. But it would behoove you to do it because your choices have heavy consequences. Just moving around in this game can be a challenge because the map is so sprawling and doesn't exactly tell you where you are in relation to the markings. You must know how to read the map's latitude and longitude settings and use your compass to find the better routes. There were several times when I was just lost, just wandering around and gave up trying to find my objective, and just wanted to start killing enemies. For those of you who are looking for a run and gun experience, this is not the game for you. Each move you make is methodical, and if you aren't prepared for the mission by not equipping the right loadout, you are sure to die. Much like I did in this mission when I was trying to secure a landing zone and the NVA brought in some tanks. My entire squad was wiped out and it was my own fault. So yeah, the stakes are high in this game, and if you're looking for a more realistic and detailed approach to Vietnam War video games, then this is a game for you. The scope of this game is massive and has a really steep learning curve, but if you are brave enough to dive into the Arma 3 world, you will soon enough start to have fun with it as I did. Now, I didn't get to do everything that this game has to offer, but this is a game that I'm sure to fire up once again. Now let's talk about a Vietnam War video game that's short and sweet and packed with action. Hell in Vietnam is a first-person shooter that emphasizes run-and-gun style gameplay and even has one of my favorite characters in cinema history in Walter Sobchak from The Big Lebowski. You all know Walter Sobchak, the lovable Vietnam vet who's got a bad case of PTSD and is a little off. Well, he's in the game and he helps you take out waves of enemies as only he could. Hell in Vietnam places you in the shoes of a soldier who takes on a bunch of missions to gain some ground against the VC. The missions consist largely of you going out into the field, sweeping Viet Cong villages, blowing up anti-air artillery, and beating Charlie at their own game. The gunplay in this game is rather satisfying, and you can wield a number of weapons from the trusty M16 to the M1 Garand and everything in between. From time to time you get to be behind a turret or a mounted machine gun, and the way the camera shakes when you are behind these turrets is crazy. Besides that, I found the game to be quite fun. This game has 2 difficulty settings, and after the beating that I took in games like Arma 3 and Rising Storm, I put it on easy so I could veg out a little and play this game without dying all the time. Don't get me wrong, I did die quite a bit, but mostly because I played this game impatiently. This game does a decent job of drawing Vietnam's jungles, villages, and rivers. It's not top-notch like you would find in some of the other games mentioned, but it's passable. The sounds of the guns and the VC are on point though. This is a short game and won't take you long at all to beat it. Maybe a couple of hours. This game makes no bones about what it is. A simple run-and-gun style game set in Vietnam. Reminiscent of games like Medal of Honor on the PS2, and would have probably been a good game to feature on that system. Sadly, this game didn't make it onto any consoles, and stayed on the PC, where it's no longer available on any commercial PC software sites. But if you are good at Google, you won't have any problems finding it. I won't spend too much time on this one since I've already covered it in detail in my last video, but it's worth mentioning again since this game was ported over to the Nintendo Switch and the PS4. Air Conflicts Vietnam is a third-person air combat game that puts you in various Vietnam War missions, from troop drops to bombing runs and close air support. The controls are a mixed bag. Helicopters feel sluggish and heavy, which takes away from some of the fun, but the jets handle better and make for some satisfying dogfights, especially against Russian MiGs. Unfortunately, the game's combat mechanics can be frustrating, especially since there's no real targeting system outside of the dogfights, making ground attacks feel messy. Overall, while Air Conflicts Vietnam has its moments, especially if you enjoy aerial combat, the clunky controls and difficulty spikes hold it back from being the immersive experience I was hoping for. Still, if you're looking for a Vietnam War video game that isn't a shooter, this one's worth checking out. And to wrap things up, let's talk about the Nam 1975, one of SNK's early run-and-gun arcade shooters that drops you straight into the chaos of the tail end of the Vietnam War. Now this game released on the PS5, Xbox Series X and S, as well as the Nintendo Switch eShop that you can download for rather cheap. This game has an old-school quarter-munching difficulty that will have you sweating bullets both in-game and real life. You will be dying quite a lot in this game, and so thank goodness that you don't have to spend quarters on it. You play as a soldier on a mission to rescue a scientist's daughter, blasting through waves of enemies in a side-scrolling shooting gallery that's reminiscent of games like Cabal or Operation Wolf. but with a distinct Vietnam War flair. You move left and right while gunning down everything in sight, enemy soldiers, helicopters, turrets, and everything else in between. You have to dodge a ridiculous amount of incoming fire. The action is non-stop, and if you're not constantly moving, you're dead, as I was many times. What really makes the Nam 1975 stand out is its atmosphere. For a 1990s arcade game, it does a solid job of capturing the Vietnam feel. I mean, as much as an arcade video game can. You definitely get shades of Apocalypse Now as well as Full Metal Jacket in this game. Remember her? Did you know she had a twin sister? Neither did I. The music is dramatic, the explosions are constant, and the game throws enough enemies at you that make you feel like you're storming through a bullet hell. The cutscenes are a bit cheesy and rather 90s arcade-ish, but that's not a bad thing, especially for a dude who loves arcades like I do. Of course, the difficulty is up there. After all, this game was designed to take your money. Enemies swarm you, bullets fly from all directions, and your lives disappear fast. But despite the challenge, it's a wild ride that keeps you coming back for more. To help you turn the tide, you get to do some running, flips, and lob grenades at your enemies. You can also play with a friend if you have one. From time to time you get thrown a machine gun or a flamethrower, which typically doesn't last too long since the game's enemies are constantly killing you. If you love classic SNK shooters or just want to experience an intense, over-the-top take on the Vietnam War, the Nam 1975 is worth a shot. If you play this game, let me know. And that's going to be it for the Big Retro Show. I know I missed some games that you guys have probably played that I did not include in this episode. And if I did, let me know in the comments and I will play them. If you miss any other videos that I've done on the Vietnam War, I will put a link in the description of this video so you can check those out. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing to the channel.